Окей. Раз, два, три, четыре, пять, шесть, семь, восемь, девять, десять. У-у-у! Прекрасно. Сара, мы готовы. Мы все починили. Да, мы лайв. Слушай, уже нет, у нас глюк был в программе, поэтому мы сейчас уже... Может, мы попозже тогда это делаем? Да, давайте мы сейчас просто уже, правда, уже люди ждут, и трансляции там уже люди, поэтому давайте мы, правда, уже начнем. Ваня, садись. Все, готовы, Сара, да. Да. А если я здесь стою, меня видно? Супер. Давай.
Hallo liebe Zuschauer, vielen Dank, dass ihr heute bei unserem Livestream zugeschaltet habt und vielen Dank, dass auch einige von euch trotz Regen und schlechtem Wetter heute bei uns seid und uns zuhören werdet. Unser Thema wird heute sein, staatliche Regulierung und Korruption in der Umweltkontrolle in Russland. Wir haben verschiedene Redner heute eingeladen, verschiedene Umweltaktivisten und wir würden gerne anfangen mit Elena Gaeva, die eine unserer Freiwilligen ist und die etwas zur aktuellen Situation in Russland erzählen wird. Das wird sie auf Englisch machen. Wir werden nach jedem Redner eine kleine 5 Minuten technische Pause machen, einen Livestream starten und Seite legen.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to be speaking in English since I haven't been in Germany for that long. And I'm going to tell you about all the major drastic situations that take place in Russia right now ecologically. Talking about ecology here at this camp, it might seem a bit misplaced. After all, what does ecology have to do with that, right? What does Putin have to do with ecology? Or what does ecology have to do with Putin? A few weeks ago, when I was looking at the program of our camp, I felt that something was missing, that something was just not there. And there we were, talking about domestic violence, prisons, violations of human rights in Russia. But what human rights violation at the end of the day deserves more attention than the right to live and the right to have your health protected? My fellow coordinator, Ivan, who is sitting right behind me, in one of our discussions has suggested that we should bring up the idea of introducing ecology into our camp as one of our days. And back then I thought that I already knew enough about it and that it will be like very, very easy to organize everything, to write the speech, to prepare for it. This is my 4th speech at the camp, and it was the hardest one to write for me just yet. Hello, Michael. I came to realize that in order to fully explain to you how devastating the ecological situation in Russia really, really is, I would need to come here every day for the next month and every day for a few hours talk about different problems and dedicate every hour to separate problems. Here today, we will try to touch only the tip of the iceberg and tell you about just a few of the many drastic environmental destructions that influence and threaten not only the lives of people in Russia, they will influence all of you. And I say will because, well, it's inevitable. It's something that is going to happen. If measures are not taken, poisonous air will reach your lungs as well, each and every one of you. Marine life everywhere will cease to exist. Everything and everyone will be affected. I can promise you that. It is estimated that all around the world, every human, young or small, consumes an average of 1 credit card of microplastic per week. Next time when you take out your credit card, when you shop for groceries, or when you want to pay for something, think about how many of them you have already eaten in your life. I haven't been here in Germany for very long. One of the things that I needed to learn upon arriving in Germany is garbage segregation. You might find it amusing or unbelievable, perhaps. But it took me a while to fully learn and understand the system of garbage segregation here. Something that is by now so normal for every one of you here. And, well, at the end of the day, it's a skill. And as any skill, it needs to be taught and it needs to be learned. The system that Germany has right now was not built in a day. It took a lot of time and patience, a lot of funding and promoting, a lot of teaching and learning. I met my partner when I was living in St. Petersburg. I think even after having lived in Russia for 1 year, for him, it's still shocking. There are still so many things that shock him when it comes to Russia. I remember the horror in his eyes when he saw me throw an old mobile phone into the garbage. Into the garbage where milk cartons, banana peels, glass bottles were already lying all mixed together. And I remember his surprise when my grandparents said that now, finally, at the age of 65, they don't have to throw batteries into the garbage, but they can take a few kilometer walk and throw the batteries into a specially designed box. That was progress. And yeah, like in Germany, when we returned back, he was very happy that he finally could continue garbage segregation as he was used to his whole life. So why is the system in Russia so obsolete? What is wrong with it? And after a lot of research, I came to realize that at the end of the day, there is just one problem that can be highlighted. Only one. And here we come once again to the problem of how the government arranges its policy when it comes to garbage segregation matters. They simply don't care. The only time when garbage disposal crosses at least one of their minds is when some profit can be gotten out of it. It's all about profit. As a result, we have two major obstacles, two major results in creating such a system of garbage segregation in Russia. The first result is lack of funding or any interest whatsoever from the government officials in the topic. The system simply does not exist. If you go to Russia today, if you go to a big city such as Moscow or St. Petersburg, you will see that garbage segregation is just non existent. You will not find multiple colorful trash cans or containers. You will only find one where everything is being dumped. Plastic, paper, glass, technological appliances, lamps, thermometers, batteries, old clothes, it all goes in one container to spend a century together on some garbage polygon, never having the chance to be recycled or segregated. The second result, which many people usually misinterpret as the cause, is lack of proper education on the topic. People don't understand that garbage segregation is vital, that it needs to be done. Not because people are ignorant, it has nothing to do with that, but because, as is with everything, the government needs to promote those ideas. The government needs to talk about it, to fund it, to teach people that in schools that is normal, that is how it's supposed to be. The government needs to patiently work with people, make garbage segregation and recycling a topic of public concern, needs to create a system of reward and punishment. I want to take a short pause and say that I have spent 5 years of my life living in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates. One of the first things that I learned there was that if you throw anything on the street, a chewing gum, a small piece of paper, whatever, even accidentally, if it flew out of your pocket due to strong wind, you will get a fine of 500 dirhams. It's around 100 euro, a bit over, 112 to be exact. Now it might not seem as so much, but back then, it was 10 years ago, it was a totally different sum. It was a lot of money. Dubai back then also seemed to me as the cleanest city I have ever seen, but that was before I came to Germany. In the Emirates, I was going to school. It was a completely regular, non-special international school based on American curriculum. Every month, we had competitions between different grades, different classes. For a month, we needed to collect and bring aluminum cans and newspapers to school. And at the end of the month, the class that managed to collect the biggest amount was rewarded. We could either order a pizza, or we could have our classes off, or we could take a field trip. There was some system of rewards for the winner. And it was a wonderful way, in my opinion, to educate and motivate children to learn about garbage segregation and recycling. But in the end, it did much more than that. In my house, even after I have left that school, we had those two special bags for paper and for soda cans. And it became a convenient habit for every member of my household. And here, once again, I want to state that learning and teaching those things have nothing to do with culture. It really makes me extremely angry. It enrages me when I hear very rare comments from various Russian politicians on the topic, such as, oh, our people have different mentality. They are not concerned with those things. They will not do it. You know, to me, it's just a lazy excuse at the end of the day. And of course, if tomorrow government suddenly says, okay, from now we segregate garbage and recycle it. Yes, but that will not change anything. It's not enough to just say it. That's not how it works, because a shift in society comes with only with the shift in minds. You need to patiently explain to people why it's important, why this talk is important, why this education is important. But even that is all worthless if there is simply no system on the government level. If the only place where you can bring glass bottles is 100 kilometers away from you, of course that system is not going to work. No one wants to go 100 kilometers to throw a few glass jars. And if there are simply no boxes for batteries, like if you just don't know where to dispose of your batteries, like you don't have that knowledge, it's not provided. If less than 5% of garbage gets recycled, just think about it, 5% of all the garbage that Russia, the biggest country in the world, consumes, 5% of it only gets recycled. And the rest is just lying on huge polygons, intoxicating the environment, intoxicating the soil, the air, the land. I know a lot of people in Russia who constantly try to manage their house waste by collecting and bringing it to recycling stations. But it's extremely hard to manage, even if you live in big cities. I'm not even talking about regions. In regions, the system is non existent. In regions, it doesn't matter how many hundreds of kilometers you go, you're still not going to find that special box with batteries. And it's extremely hard to manage. And even then, those people who still try, despite all that, when they still try, they are met with annoyance, anger, and very often with just closed doors of recycling stations. We all want to make the planet a better, a cleaner place. We all want that. We all want to do our share in garbage disposal. But we can only do it with the help and with the support of the government. We cannot do it in spite of the government. That's not how it works. So the only people with wrong culture and wrong mentality are Russian politicians who dare to make such statements. And except for the never-ending garbage problems that Russian environment is heavily affected by, there are also some other factors. I cannot, unfortunately, take time to talk about them as much as I should or as much as it is necessary to. So I will only mention the above said tip of the iceberg. One of the biggest threats, not only for humans, but for many other species, are oil spills. We all know how drastic the consequences of oil spills and fuel leaks might be. We have all seen the effects it has on nature, on marine life, on everything around it. Oil spills in Russia are unfortunately very, very frequent. But the officials in charge don't seem to be so quick at fixing those consequences. In May 2020, a fuel leak occurred on the territory of the thermal power station in Norilsk, a city known for its oil extraction. The leak became the largest environmental disaster in the history of the Arctic region, the largest ever. However, with the exception of some social network posts, the disaster was not discussed until 5 days later. For 5 days, that leak was poisoning the air, the water, the land for 5 days. And just think about it. It was around 20,000 tons of diesel fuel, 20,000 tons that spilled out and was lying there for 5 days before anyone started doing anything. And just let me explain to you how that should concern every one of you here. Those 20,000 tons, they went into the waters of a river which is called Ambarne. The officials, of course, first claimed that the disaster was not registered. The officials said that no, 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 we fixed everything. It's all under control. We're going to like make it all. Don't worry. But then after that, from the river Ambarne, the diesel fuel was carried into a lake which was called Pasina. And in turn, it's connected to the Kara Sea, which is part of the Arctic Ocean. And this is how the leak in Norilsk becomes our common problem. From a local problem of just a few 100,000 people, it becomes a problem of billions because those 20,000 tons of diesel fuel are now in the Arctic Ocean and they're going to reach everyone. Deforestation is another vital factor in making the ecological situation in Russia that horrible. Recently, it has been stated that Russia heats twice as fast as the rest of the world. Twice. Russia, with its endless forest and wonderful nature, emits so much carbon dioxide that the last few winters were not nearly as cold and frosty as I remember them being in my childhood. Tens of thousands of kilometers of Siberian forests are being chopped down without any replanting, without any control, any licensing. They just come and chop them down. That's it. And that's legal. I can talk about so much more. About garbage burning facilities that have no filters and just burn tons of plastic into the atmosphere. I can talk about unlicensed hunting and fishing, about red rivers that have obtained their color not due to some unique plants, but because of the amount of metals in them. I can talk about constant smog around large cities, about animal cruelty, about forest fires that no one cares to put out, about all that is beautiful, that is being so inhumanely destroyed. I can talk about that for very long. And they are destroyed by people who are just operated by greed everywhere, all the time. Constant need to squeeze more out of the land and out of the resources, to not miss a single opportunity to earn a single bloody cent. They're just powered by greed. That's it. There is nothing else behind it. More, more, more. We need more. Who cares what's left after me? I live today. In the future, somebody will come and somebody maybe will fix it. Smarter, better, more responsible people of the future. But what I want to tell you is we are those people. We are those people of the future. And we are the ones responsible here today. Because of us, because of what we do, there might be no people of the future at all. And what about Russian people, you might ask? What about all those activists, right? They like should exist. Surely, there probably are organizations and activists who fight against injustice, who bring awareness to others, who refuse to give up. In my preparation for today, I have done a lot of research. I have talked to a lot of activists in Russia. I asked them about their lives. I asked them about what they do. And what I have heard and learned, it shocked me to my very core. I never thought that that was possible. And with their permission, I have translated a couple of messages that they wrote to me. I altered their names because they want to remain anonymous. And now we will read some of those comments to you. For instance, Sasha from Moscow writes,
In fact, meetings are prohibited in Russia. Permissions are just not given. You go to a single picket and the whole family is tyrannized. They literally tyrannize you. They threaten that they will take the children away. Come to their parents. I got run over by a car once. The activists are pressed against the entrance of their houses with knives. This is in addition to administrative and other, even criminal cases that are constantly being created against us. Sometimes they shoot at us in the air so far. But so far, the prosecutor's office is not working. The stripped organ. They send you to go to the local, and local prosecutors openly say that they will not go against Putin's friends.
so as you can see, something like that, something as an actual terrorizing of activists is completely possible and no one stands there to protect them. One activist that is fighting with deforestation writes,
Carrots don't work. The forest is cut according to phony documents. They take a section of the forest, write that the forest was eaten by a bark beetle. They cut down century-old pines. Then, at this place, they built a dump with a new name. Indicators of pollution in air, water, soil are hidden from residents, citizens. You have to do it yourself. And we, we live. We don't live, we survive, especially during the COVID period.
So as you can see, the activists in Russia, they're not even able to ask for those documents, to ask from an organization how it works, to ask of them to give a report of what they do and how they manage the environment. This information is hidden from them. And when they actually try to do something, some court cases are being opened against them for a totally phony reason. For instance, a person with the nickname of Badger writes,
In addition, there are repressions throughout the country in relation to environmental activists, beatings, illegal arrests, imprisonment, judicial arbitrariness throughout the country. People are not protected from ecocide. The country is big, nowhere to live.
what is happening to them, those activists call an ecocide. And it is an ecocide because what is happening to the Russian environment, what is happening to the eco activists, it's something that should never be allowed to happen. And another person writes, it's Elena from Moscow. I found her comments the most touching.
I read the article about Russia's climate change and the heating of Russia too. Well, it can't be otherwise. Thousands of hectares are being cut down. Where it is necessary to build garbage dumps, the forest is also cut down or burned, as we have had it the other day. The option that the landfills are closed is a deception. Plus 40 new ones are being opened in the Moscow region, just with a different name. And these are emissions into the atmosphere. In addition to 25 MSZ outdated garbage incinerations and without adequate filtration, incinerations takes place in old cement factories without filters at all. All this is thrown into the atmosphere. There is no clean water left. Baikal groans. Zenech is dying. On the Black Sea, along the entire coast from the side of Russia, dead dolphins lie on the shores. Dead fish, birds fall straight on the beach. Straight and dead, a terrible sight. Specially protected areas as such have ceased to function. The Etrush Reserve is burned out every year, purposefully, to build a light housing with beautiful views for the friends of our great ruler, and such chaos throughout Russia.
I would like to stop right here for a moment and give a round of applause to those Russian activists for their bravery, for their refusal to put up with injustice, for fighting the battle that we all should be fighting. Thank you. When I spoke about Navalny on the 11th of April, I heard some people say, yes, that's very sad, but it doesn't touch me personally. Sure, he is to many just a name. A lot of people don't know him. A lot of people don't care about him. An unknown politician that plays dangerous games with Putin and his regime. When I spoke about domestic violence here on the 19th of April, I heard some people say, yes, the victims need to be helped, but someone else's marriage is not my business. Yes, it would be foolish to assume that you people who are now listening to my words, that you need to be personally concerned with the lives of Russian women. I'm sure you all send your best wishes and support to them, but you don't know them. When I spoke about LGBTQ plus rights violation, I heard some people say, well, I cannot really relate because, well, I'm not a member. And sadly, without being personally influenced by that, it's hard to fully relate to those cases. But here today, I stand and I speak to you about the air that you breathe, about the water that you drink, about the land that you get your food from. I'm speaking about our planet. I'm speaking about the future of your children, the future of your grandchildren. A great musician, Victor Tsoi, once said, a man lives on a planet, not in a country. And let us never forget that whatever Russian government is doing to Russia's air, water, and land, it's not being done just to Russia. It's being done to our planet at the end of the day, our home. And as citizens of the planet, we should be united under the agenda of preserving it for the future generations. This is our mission. This is why we are here. Otherwise, it will all perish, and we shall all perish. Our species will cease to exist, and not because of an asteroid hitting Earth, not because of factors outside of our control. We shall perish because of our own ignorance and stupidity. Let us never forget that. I thank you for your attention.
Спасибо большое, Lena. Thank you very much. Wir haben jetzt, vielen Dank nochmal, Lena, für diese sehr wichtige und großartige Rede. Wir haben jetzt eine kleine technische Umbaupause von 4 Minuten, um den nächsten Livestream zu starten. Und der nächste Programmpunkt sind Aktivisten von Fridays for Future in Berlin über die Klimakrise und den schmelzenden Permafrost. Bleiben Sie gerne bei uns. Wir brauchen 4 bis 5 Minuten zum Umbauen. Dankeschön.